Hello everyone, welcome to Fableheim and the 4th Dev Diary Dev Stream Breakdown for Age of Wonders 4, The Secrets of the Archmages. Today we are covering the art of the Secrets of the Archmage in my final breakdown. There will be one more dev stream post-release, but I usually don't cover that because, well, the game's in our hands to explore ourselves. So this video will be broken, of course, into two parts. Well, three technically. The first part will be the pretty pictures, which is supposedly jam-packed with stuff and behind-the-scenes and concept art. And then part two will be everything in the dev stream I noticed, and we'll wrap things up with the handy-dandy notebook, which were just things the devs were chatting about. So without further ado, let's hop in, shall we? Greetings, Gaudia. I'm Ellie, who I think has been on the stream like once. 2D artist here at Triumph, and I have the honor of presenting the final pre-release dev diary before the Secrets of the Archmages expansion drops on June 16th. Just 5 days away now. Well, 4 at this point. The Archmages secrets are not to be told just yet, but I'm offering up many of our artist secrets as a compromise. By the way, the first poll is up for the first sandbox series of Secrets of the Archmages. It is currently the most one-sided poll I have ever held. So, you know, go lend your voice one way or another. This is the Arcanum event image. Ooh. Also, these art diaries are kind of like the least popular on just like the Steam forum, but they are my favorite as a content creator. So many juicy images. And this is one of them. This is what pops up when you go to, is it both the Shrouded and the Breached Arcanum? I think it is. This expansion was interesting from an art perspective, because instead of having one overarching visual or theme, we had 3 vastly different story realms and the Shrouded Isles to tie it all together. Essentially, we were packaging 4 mini expansions into one. That same structure is how I'll be presenting our work to you today, starting off with our Evermore content. Ooh. This is the most difficult of the 3 story realms, and the one that we know the least about. That you know the least about. Evermore Realm intro image. Look at that. It's the return to Athla from Age of Wonders earlier games, such as 2. Longtime fans may recognize Evermore, as it took center stage in Age of Wonders 2. Indeed, this is the Wizard's Tower. Before bad stuff. We thought it was about time to bring this iconic realm back. Sadly, it turns out you cannot entrust the care of important monuments to wizards, and we now rediscover Evermore in an entirely ruined state. The true mystery of its decay is yours to uncover, but an early encounter will be the broken Wizard's Throne landmark at the map's center, a devastated version of the original Age of Wonders 2 structure. R.I.P. So the other 2 special landmarks, the Moor of the Mist, which has like 3 different names now, and the Infernal Helion, which also has like 3 different names now, can appear in just any realm. Obviously not the story realms, but you know, a custom realm, they can just appear as a landmark. I don't think this one can, because as you can see, it's like custom at the center of Evermore and is surrounded by other wonders. It's meant to be very iconic. Taking from existing content, like the Age of Wonders 2 structure, may seem like it'd make the creation process easier, but making something new and fresh that is still recognizable is surprisingly difficult. Originally, we broke the tower up from the top down, removing the spire entirely and leaving the tower more intact towards the bottom. Oh, look at that. This is definitely not Dalaran. Definitely not. Which, by the way, we were supposed to be able to access in Vanilla WoW. Kind of a shame we never got to see what was under the thingy. Wait, no, we did, didn't we? Or is that after they left? Anyway, concepts in the first blockout for the Wizard's Throne. We're going to be seeing a lot of blockouts. However, seeing it in-game, the blockout was unrecognizable from its Age of Wonders 2 counterpart. The spire was too essential of a design element to lose. So we revised the design, breaking up the tower in reverse, ruined at the bottom, but leaving the spire intact, greatly improved recognizability. Indeed it did. It's kind of like the shattering happened in the basement where they keep all the secrets. And Merlin's office at the top was intact. Image description. Intact model. Broken up. And the final in-game. This thing is huge, by the way. This structure now properly sets the stage, but to truly tell the story of a shattered Evermore, we also needed to bring back its most iconic resident, a now redeemed Merlin. Formerly an Eldritch sovereign, his new Wizard King self needed to bear the scars of his corruption. A concept for his new character model explored several directions. Ooh. This one's kind of cool, but also kind of not recognizable as Merlin. I like this one. He's kind of like old and leaning on the staff. I have a cane. I know what it's like to lean on the staff. But I think this is what the Archmage settled with. He has like his cloak, which you can get. Actually, it's just unlocked for Wizard Kings. Has these runes on the back. And I think that's meant to like keep his tentacles in. Little tentacles you can see here. Merlin, early concepts left, and the final right. I like how he has... what would you even call these? They're like gold caps on his rings. The final concept hit the notes we were looking for. A return to his human self while still scarred by Eldritch corruption. See the final sculpt. Yeah, I got little tentacles coming out here. The cloak for the Wizard Kings does not have the tentacles included. It'd be cool if it did, but this is probably a very custom made model, including the beard. The magnificent beard. Any Dowie would be proud. Not unimportantly, we really wanted Merlin to have a floating book weapon. This led to not only Merlin getting one, but also you, the player, being able to select a book weapon in ruler customization. We've talked a little bit about the Grimoire already. I wonder how much use it's really going to see. I'm not sure. In addition to Merlin, and another new character I won't spoil, Evermore needed to be populated with additional rulers, ones also associated with magic, mystery, and wisdom. This was the perfect opportunity to introduce a form we have been wanting for a while. The Owlkin. Look at these faces. Having them as their own fully fledged form allowed us to give them a ton of customization options, including crests, eyebrows, hairs, and beards. Ooh, we do see this in the dev stream as well. I guess I'll just go through it quicker back then. We get to part 2. Yeah, originally, they may talk about it. Just keep writing. Oh, nope. Reading. Writing. I've done enough writing, honestly. They originally wanted to go for a more imposing, tall, strong-looking character, like a Sphinx. But it didn't look very owl-like, and it kind of clashed with the avian forms we already have. So now they're back to being nice and adorable. These guys also introduce our first ever animated eye textures. Oh, look at that. Blint is using this, I believe, in the current series that I'm going to have to hurry up. In order to enhance the fantasy of the story realms, tomes were developed in parallel to them, each story realm having 2 tomes associated with its particular fantasy. For Evermore, these are the Tome of Abjuration and the Tome of the Cosmos. Look at that. The newest, the only added Tier 5 tome. Luis already revealed much about the tomes in the second Dev Diary, so today I will just share my favorite art bits from each one. From the Tome of Abjuration, we can get the Abjurer Pylon Tower unit. This is an insane pylon. It doesn't feel like it when you just look at it on paper, but it truly is very good. And the art for this is exceptional. The art and the animations. Because all the 3 different pieces like move, and then as you cast, they like expand out and then like flow back together. It's exceptionally done. You've already seen the model for this, but what you might not have seen yet is that we made a particularly fun summoning animation for it. Yep. All the different pieces come together. Oh, there are 4. We don't get to see it casting, but yeah, like these 4 different pieces all fly out in different cardinal directions and then flow back together. For Tome of the Cosmos, we explored a few different directions to take the Avatar of the Cosmos unit. This thing is insane. Insane in the membrane. Alex talked a lot about this. how like the different elements are lined up as they are in the Empire skill tree. So Chaos opposes Order, Astro opposes Materium, Nature opposes Shadow. And originally they had kind of like a portal design. This is kind of like a grandfather clock. It's really funny. And there was a lot of discussion about the material that it would be made out of. But right now it's currently like astral. Well, currently. It is kind of like asteroid or space rock looking material. This unit was so unique it required an entirely new rig and animation set, which is totally worth it because we ended up with some of the cool ability animations. Don't worry about the damage numbers, I confess to using cheats. Yeah, so this beam deals damage based on your affinities, and if you do the Giga cheat, you get 30 of every affinity. That's the maximum the game supports, which can lead... These numbers are actually low for having 30 of each affinity. It goes up to like 500 or something. But yeah. It's funny. Good times. I had to resist putting it in the videos I did for the Age of Wonders 4 YouTube channel because I had several moments of like, okay, I cheated to get this thing out, but it's doing 500 damage. I don't think I should put that in the video. And I did not. Obodoth. Yes. This is a fun realm. Definitely not because you can just be super evil. Leaving the magical mystery of Evermore behind, we now plunge into the infernal hell of Obodoth. Here, a great war of chaos rages, all centered around a single question. Will the beast be released? And here is the... This is an infernal Helidon. What? This itself is an infernal Helion, but it's called the persisting arch nemesis or something. So I wasn't sure what to actually call it in the video, but I went with the infernal Helion because I think that's what this guy actually is in the lore. This beast in question is the arch nemesis, a fiendish demon chained to the bottom of the Azran pit, deep within the underground. The workflow for creating this landmark was comparable to the Broken Wizard's Throne, but in this case we de-risked the design by prototyping with existing assets, specifically using the Baylor model for early testing. I'll have bigger pictures of these later, but making the Arch Nemesis landmark was design, prototype, concept, sculpt. So the prototypes here, it's really hard to see. This is a Baylor that's chained up and it's like kind of facing forward. This is the position of the different chains and like the cities supporting them. And then, oh, this realm has an underground start. Really? Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't think it did. And then they like, Thomas explained that in the pitch for this, someone just like literally went forward, like came up and pushed the design backwards. So you could see the Infernal Helion more closely, and it looked like he was struggling to stay chained. It's really interesting, and there's the sculpt for it. The guy looks great in game. Getting the environment around the landmark to work both underground and on the surface was a huge undertaking. On the surface, the giant lava pit underwent many tests. Yeah, Thomas was like, you would think making a giant hole in the ground would be easy, but it was actually incredibly difficult. Tests like these allow us to discover what works and what doesn't, both technically and visually. The main issue in many of the tests was that the pit did not look deep enough, but with some 3D magic, aka pushing the depth of the surface layer to the absolute pixel maximum, we got an epic final visual. Yeah, it looks so good. And this is very story important. There's Peak looking over it. Back to the underground. The beast needed unique animations and FX for each of the chains being broken, and then also a final scene finale for when it breaks loose. Look at that. I don't think I ever saw this. My build didn't get updated for a long time though. I got a very early version, like the version I got was meant for QA testers. So some things I didn't get to see myself. But yeah. He like rips his hands off when the little attaching chains are destroyed. I won't tell you how, but they can be. So who are the forces of chaos rooting for, or trying to prevent, its release? Most predictably, Carissa will be making her return. Now has her true primal self, having finally lost her last shred of humanity. Let's be honest, there was little left. Yeah, there wasn't much left. But here she is. She appeared in the 3rd original story realm, the Pit of Abadoth, and you defeat her. You defeat her there, and then now she has reappeared, and she is big man. I can fix her, or she can make you worse, depending on how you want to interpret it. So this is like the concept design, and then here is her sculpt in game. Speaking of difficult things to do, making her hair that's like floating fire was apparently exceptionally difficult, and I believe that because in which game was it? Was it Overwatch? No, that was Reaper's Shadow. They had to make a whole system for it. But in some games, they've kind of like said, hair is so difficult, we've made like custom engines just to render hair correctly. So I completely believe this. And here it is, of course, in animation. Getting her fire hair right was a big technical challenge, but our FX artist saved the day. Look at that. I wish we could get this as a customization. Maybe the mod unlocker will make it possible. Not sure though. And you can get her orb, and you can get the giant chaos circle on her back. Needing a formidable opponent, Carissa will be beefing it out with a new character, the fallen Archon Angel Yasariel. All I can say is this realm is hot, hot, hot. You can get his sword as well in the Pantheon. If you want to maximize chaos on your playthrough of Abadoth, consider picking up the Tome of Gluttony or the Tome of Burning Passion. We've talked extensively about the tomes, but I'm very excited to have my own minigame here of gorging units. And of course, the Temptress is just... she's such a classic unit. It remains to be seen if she'll be a good unit. I think she will be. But the Succubus was iconic from Age of Wonders 3. Of course, then you get to a certain stage of the game where the rogue doesn't care anymore and it just fields all Shadowstalkers. But still, great unit. The Tome of Gluttony includes a hungry new imp unit, the Gluttonous Imp. Yes, indeedy. Wow, he barely changed at all. Between concept and in-game, they nailed that guy. And the Tome of Passion finally gives us some much-needed hot pink VFX, so you can defeat your enemies with the pain of love. This unit, the Orb of Desire, I didn't think much of it. Maybe I just underestimate pylons in general. I'm sensing a trend here. But in the dev stream, they used it to incredible efficacy. And it has saved me quite a lot of damage in my playtesting. So I think this is going to be a really underdog type spell. Duatha! Wow, it's incredible art. Our last news story realm takes us deep into the Fey realm, Duatha, where instead of rainbows and sunshine, we are met with ominously misty hills, as the Fey and animal races have been forced underground by a domineering Mistwalker presence. In order to get this feeling right, we needed some new environment assets. Again, we prototyped with existing assets and took note of new assets that we would need. So this is the world map prototype. You can see the giant kings all around. Yeah, this doesn't look very Duathan. And notes right. Softer stones, spiral shapes, unique statues, flowers. True. Needing new fairy stones and statues, we did some concepts. This is apparently a unicorn. I don't see it still. But, yeah. Oh, a fairy dragon. Wonder if one day we'll ever get such a thing as a Dragon Lord. Maybe. Thomas already said no, but maybe. Which then were made into a plethora of new world map decorations that really give Duatha its own unique feeling. Yeah, look at all this unique environmental art. I'm sure they'll find a way to, like, reuse this. Like, maybe in, new handmade regions or something. But it'd be a shame to make all this and then just never use it again. The Mistwalker presence is further enforced through a new landmark, the Moor of the Mists, also called the Fog Monolith, also called the Fey Touch Fountain or something. Look how it started. This thing looks so cool. It's really imposing. The Mistflow Gardens. There's a fourth name. As well as a new infestation, one with 4 seasonal variants. All will be explained when you play the story. And I'm not going to spoil it. This is the Mistwalker Camp infestation. which is a new infestation type that can just show up anywhere. It even has a realm trait to have a lot of these, if you would like to play with it. But as you can see, this is the Scourge of Seasons little totem that's in the Toll of Seasons event. You can kind of extrapolate from there. Of course, a fairy world is nothing without its inhabitants, and if the Fae are to reclaim their home, they need a powerful figure to lead the rebellion. It is time to introduce our new Fae-touched Hambringer, the little halfling that could. So here's our concept. Was this really the art for Age of Wonders 2? It's like literally just a guy. Yeah, this is him currently in the game. And it's not like the new version replaces the old. You can play Carissa the Red, or you can choose the new version of Carissa. And you can play the old version of Hambringer, or, alter him if you want to. Some of the library heroes cannot be edited, but he can. And here is the new version. Here's his sculpting. He has a nice little bird on his head. This model got some really cool new tech that allowed us to animate the bird hat. Check out the Pantheon if you want it for yourself. Yes, this is in the Pantheon, and so is the Nature Magic Circle. The first time I saw this, I was like, okay, it's time for Radagast the Brown to come back. We had Radagast in the Witch Beast campaign, but he was an enemy, so we can always improve, reiterate, reuse, reduce, recycle. Next to Ham, the whispers about a new world full of animal races has enticed another iconic character to show up, Arachna, returning to her roots as a true trad goth queen, taking lots of inspiration from her original Age of Wonders 2 look. Yeah, she's also a character in the base game. Wow. Showing a lot more skin in Age of Wonders 2. This is the sculpt. Wait. Yeah, this is the base game. She also comes with a creepy new cape customization option, which again is also available in the Pantheon. Wait, is this how she looks? Oh, I guess it is. I thought there's a new customization. Oh, it's the Priest of the Weave. I see. Yeah. So they have the new arachnid legs back, and then they have the new spider helmet. I can't really think of a good use for this spider helmet. Even for the person currently winning the poll, it doesn't make sense for her, I don't think. Ah well. Whether you prefer the creepy crawlies or cute fairies, the Tomes of Duatha offer both. Pick your poison. Tome of the Sprite or Tome of the Weaver. Or both. ¿Por qué no los dos? Tome of the Sprite has some of the cutest VFX yet. Yeah, it's so good. The thing I love about the Tome of the Sprite is how soft it is, which I'm sure was one of the words they used when describing how they wanted it to look. But the tome, if you pick this as your starting tome, you get Captivating Lights, which is just one of the most bonkers single target spells for trying to get rid of a unit. Because what are the chances? It breaks defense mode and retaliation, and has a chance to distract. It's just so good early game. This is for the Catnap spell, which is a little underwhelming, I will admit, but it is a tier 1 tome. This is the one that consumes your unit's movement points for health. And now that health is kind of, I wouldn't say ballooned, but health is increased based on bonus levels, all these different bonuses from tomes or champions, whatever. 1 for 1 is not great. It's 40, right, is the most you can have. So if you don't move at all, you heal 40 health. Okay, great. Tome of the Weaver wins the award for the most horrifying transformation. Yes, this is the Spider's Embrace Major Transformation, which, for legal reasons, cannot be called the Drider. For legal reasons. An additional award for the crudest concept art. It's mine, so I'm giving you permission to laugh. Oh, this is the Spider's Nest SPI. That's an incredible concept. But I kind of get what they're going for, stick trees and then a giant web. Yeah. The great thing about the Spider's Nest SPI is a lot of the SPIs give you bonuses based on what other province movements are around it. but this one will give you bonuses for just having forests around it. It doesn't have to be foresters, just the forest terrain. So it can be very strong, depending on where you are. The Shrouded Isles. Is this Yakka's? No, this isn't Yakka's. Yeah, it's Zathel's. His spell, his secret spell, I won't tell you what it is, but it broke my game. And not in the good way. In order to sprinkle some of the story content from these realms into your custom campaigns, we have introduced the new Shrouded Isles world map layer. This layer contains pocket dimensions that can only be accessed from their own unique portals on the surface or underground layers. Concept for these portals focused on rounded shapes and broken stones. By the way, I knew this wasn't Yakka's because there's not enough... What's the word? Self-enamoration. That's not the word I'm thinking of, but when you see Yakka's Isle, you will know it is Yakka's Isle. So here are the Shrouded Isle concept. I believe we saw this in the previous Dev Diary. These nice little portals. Yeah, I used this for thumbnail material. I could not be bothered to get rid of the like gray parts in between the portal swirls. I'm like, it's part of the portal swirl. We're just throwing it on there. And then we have the Guardians. Those guarded gates obviously needed guardians too. And we loved the idea of riddle-posing owl creatures. These have a sun and moon variant. These things are so cool. Like, they really wanted them to be Sphinx, but they kind of continued the owl theme, and they're Owl Sphinx, basically. They're also pretty strong, but it's very difficult to obtain them. I wish there was a more reliable way. Because they're beasts, right? So they're empowered by the empowered beasts. Cool units. Once you've outsmarted these mythical creatures, you'll get access to a new ancient wonder, the Arcanum. Which, we talked about this last time as well, but the idea behind this was kind of like a non-Euclidean geometry, and some other guy, which was explained to me, it's not actually a physicist or geologist or whatever. It's an artist who makes those like impossible labyrinthine paintings. Escher? Was that his name? Anyway, cool stuff. And here is the blockout to final model of the Arcanum Wonders. They look great. A big struggle here. Here's Utgard's. I think I remember what his is. I didn't use it though. A big struggle they had with the Arcanums was trying to make them fit into all the different types of environments they had to create to represent the Wizard Kings that, you know, they were making Arcanums for. I wonder if they'll ever add to it. They have a few that you wouldn't expect. Like, to be fair, I didn't think Zaphael would be one as well. Or Zathel, excuse me. But here we are. This structure holds powerful magic. If you manage to best it, you may unlock some very special spells. Oh, look at that. They're showing you the icons. Can you guess from this picture alone whose these are? I could tell you. We do see this one in the dev stream today, if you're curious. They're not all here, are they? 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. I'd say that they removed the story realm ones, but they did not. Oh well. Miscellaneous, a new UI skin inspired by vintage bookcases. Oh, I just remembered. I meant to change the UI skin on Ikit Claw's campaign, and I don't think I did until the very final episode. I'm sorry. I read the comment. I meant to do it. I just forgot. But we're getting a new one. And as always, an ungodly amount of icons, not even including all of the new Empire tree icons we had to make for the free update. It's beautiful. Look at it. Yeah. Cat ears. So this is Pantheon stuff. Nice. Speaking of free stuff, we have 6 new wallpapers for you. Find them here. Ooh. Don't mind if I do. And as an additional treat, some of our favorite art bloopers from this expansion. Remember when I said you'll know when it's Yakka? Yeah. Oh, that's funny. What was this meant to be? I saw this bug. And Bigger's eyeballs. Something going on with the sprite over there. Spider-Man. Imagine a 5-year-old girl with unusually bad taste has been allowed to decorate the Baylor. Unleash your inner toddler. Mr. Tom Bird. Need even more art? We've got you. Like always, we put together an ArtStation Art Blast, which will drop along with this expansion's release on June 16th. As for more non-art content, we still have one last Dev Diary for you. Tune in next Thursday for the final Dev Diary on the Empire Tree rework. Thanks for sticking with me, and I hope you have a magical time with all the new goodies in Secrets of the Archmages. Have I really been yapping for 30 minutes already? Have I ever gone through one of these that long? Wow. I did say it was big, and I did talk a lot. Well, anyway, that was the first part of this video. Huzzah yapping. If you would like, you could, of course, find a link in the description to all of the pretty pictures. It's time for part 2, which are just images from the dev stream that I saw. They showed off some of these arts, so we'll just kind of skip around and go from there. I swear I am as lost as Microsoft in my files here, but I think I found it. So they have received aid from one of the god tier of their pantheon. This event still exists, of course, and it is still very strong. They did cast city wards on their northward expansion, which did not have walls, and were as equally surprised as I am to discover that it does not provide free fortification. So the plus 10 fortification health only comes into play if you already have walls of any kind. The city stability did come into play, though, and did provide plus 10, which is at least nice. It's something. For whatever reason, Thomas is surprised, as am I, that one of his opponents, who he's actually not at war yet, just walked into his domain, destroyed the training ogre, and left. Why? None of us know. The fairies have been increased in size, but they do remain tiny for the purposes of being elusive to missile and ranged magical attacks. Once again, they unlocked the Phalor as a secret spell from the previous stream, but it still remains unsummonable. A fun little quirk here that I noticed. Well, first of all, the Avatar of the Cosmos is here. That's super funny. Second of all, the Gaudier that arrived is a Federate levy, which is interesting. I think it's because technically he was not recruited, he was just accepted and joined. But Thomas wasn't sure if that's how it was going to be. It might be changed already. Mostly, they are on an older build. Also, the Avatar of the Cosmos, its second ability, its Giant's Beam, does require affinity to do damage. So because it's neutral, he wasn't sure if there was any affinity at all for him to use the giant AoE with. Once again, I don't know if you've seen the Empire skill tree, so I just grabbed that in screenshots of any Empire skills they hovered, such as the Outpost Expertise, which is already in the game as military something. But Construction Outpost takes 1 less turn and costs less gold, or Terraforming spells cost 25% less mana, and world map casting points. I would be hard-pressed to ever press land sculptors, but maybe there's a niche application. At the third tier of nature, foraging is exceptional. I know we talked this before, but not only does it heal you more in your own domain, you'll also get experience. Big fan. On the fourth tier of the order skill, there's Dutiful Watch, which I should probably accept in the Blink campaign. Cities gain +1 city stability per unit tier of each friendly unit inside the city. Heroes count as tier 5. And friendly units inside your cities gain +5 experience per turn. At tier 3, gain knowledge per Wizard Bond Treaty or Declaration with the Empires, and gain +4 knowledge per Trade Treaty with free cities. Good stuff. They did show a little bit more of the Spider's Embrace Major Transformation, just with anything they could think of for fun times. Here is the glorious battle again. They did surprisingly well. The Cosmos Beam does not showcase what damage it deals, but the Avatar never used it in this combat, so I'm assuming it doesn't do anything. And none of the Cosmos Manifest went off, suggesting there's no affinity of at least level 5. There it is in all its glory. There might have been a recent flash screenshot, I don't remember. Once they completed this Silver Wonder, there's a new option I've never seen before, but this might have been added in the previous DLC. Basically, they can ruin the Wonder itself, but with a new option by taking the Shrine of Smiting from the Wonder, which will downgrade it. Not every Wonder can be ruined, but this is one of the ones that can. So hey, free Shrine of Smiting. This was the background, I believe. They were showing some pictures, so it minimized. Here it is if you're curious what's on their desktop. Huzzah! Here's the avatar of the cosmos that we saw there, just kind of explaining the design for it. Here's like the earliest concept that Alex made out before he broke his thumb. Glad he's all better. Breaking things is never fun. But it's kind of like what the original design for it was. Here's some of the funny stuff they said not to look at, but we got to see it anyway. And of course, here's some of the design for the owls. This is still when they were going for the larger, imposing humanoid type critter, which I believe we will see. Here's some of the fancy eyebrows. Some of these made it in, actually. Here we go. So it's like their original concept for the big, tall, imposing Sphinx owl critter, but they realized it doesn't look very owl-like, both in being, you know, nice, round, and spherical, and having giant eyes to peer into your soul with. Here are the decorations, they're called. And each of them kind of represent the different three story realms. Evermore is the stars, Alpadoth is the giant fire thing, and then Tuatha is just the multicolored feathers. The summoning bonds at Tier 4 Astral gives magic origin units to experience for each non-magic origin unit in the same army, and your non-magic origin units +1 status resistance for each magic origin unit in the same army. This seems pretty good. Pretty good. This one's a bit strange to me, but at Tier 5 of Nature, you can choose your units gain status protection for 3 turns whenever they gain the first negative status effect per turn in combat, or positive status effects on your units which last at least 2 turns gain an additional 1 turn. And on this list was Steadfast, which is definitely not a buff that lasts at least 2 turns. So, Thomas wasn't quite sure why that's there. Neither am I. After they picked the summoning bonds, they checked out what the Winter Fairy was getting as the only magical origin unit in that army, and surprise, it's a bunch of XP at 45. That's how much it needs. 26! And I think that's with a Wizard King leader. With a Champion leader, it could be plus 15 of that. Yeah, experience is getting crazy. I really want to explore how high you can push it. There's a Mistling here. Hi! They did locate another Shrouded Isle, and they actually waited to get the gold to just pay off the Guardian. But here's the riddle if you're curious. If you attack the Guardian, which is a pretty difficult fight, they would have gotten some binding fragments and essences. Thomas pointed out that the Eldritch Sovereign joined them, and all of a sudden they were able to gain thralls. That's because the Enthralling Presence passive just kind of unlocks it. Unlocks the thrall economy for anyone who has it. At Tier 3 of Chaos, Battlefield Looting has returned, granting 3 gold per unit tier of the unit skilled in combat, or you can choose Might Makes Right. I'm not really sure. Battlefield Looting is a classic staple of Chaos, but this could be okay. Honestly, the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, whatever. But Tier 3, 4, and 5 units gain +5 hit points for each Tier 1 and 2 in the army, and Tier 1 and 2 units gain +2 experience per turn for each Tier 3, 4, and 5 unit in the same army. The Shrouded Isle that they pierced into was Arctica's. So, of course, it's all Arctic and pretty pictures. There's a magic seal down here that I didn't get to grab. The Breachers have this weird white hair that Thomas was confused about. He wasn't quite sure what was up with that because they're orange, but who knows. The Temptress attire, we'll call it, is in the game and available to Wizard Kings of the female species, so he briefly showed it off. It also appears to change with your metal color, so it's gold. I, as a player who never plays a good character, didn't know the Crusader host turned white here. This is an infestation that will not attack you if you are at least very good. And so it turns white. You'll learn. Oh, this is me being a little confused, but I figured it out. The Grimoire of Blight was dealing 20 damage at tier 1, but it actually supposed to deal 16. That's because his robe was giving him 20% damage increased. 20% of 16 is 4. 4 plus 16 is 20. Problem solved. I thought they buffed this, which would have been very interesting, but nope, they did not. They were showcasing that, well, it's not on this list yet, but Federate units of your, heroes of your culture, whether it's recruited from you or from a free city, will be Federate soldiers. However, heroes of another culture recruited will have the Federate levy tag, which could be very important in, future schemings and plannings. Here is the good old Shredded Isle stuff we were looking at earlier. Nice and pretty. Good. Hello, Udgard. And here is the not Udgard, we just said goodbye to him. Bye. Arctica's Heart, Shredded Isle Arcanum. Good times. Thomas talked about how he came up with like the Heart of Frost sort of thing, and they really leaned into it for the story. You want to read it, you can, but no spoilers if you don't want to. There's some bonus resources after winning, and of course you unlock the Secret Scroll of Arctica, which gives you a transformation secret spell that's pretty uncontrollable. It will make it so up to 40 random provinces gain the Ice Age hazard. At the start of the next turn, those hazards expire and deal 20 frost damage to any enemy units inside. The province itself will be entirely destroyed, and it will gain snow and ice, losing chasm, swamp, ashland, sand, cavern floor, fungus fields, and gloom. Also, it's super cheap. It's 100 casting points and 100 mana. And it can just be chain spammed. I wouldn't recommend it, though, because it makes an absolutely horrific sound. I did that in my build as well, and I was like, huh, I hate this. Coincidentally, though, I only showed off 2 of the secret spells, and this is one of them. So it really worked out, At the tier, where are we, 5? Of Astral, the Spell Warding makes it so buff spells and healing spells in combat now apply bolstered resistance to friendly targets, or the Cosmic Breaches makes it so damage spells and debuff spells in combat now applied sundered resistance to their targets. Kind of depends on what you're really going for here. At tier 3 of Materium, Mythical Alloys makes it so mines grant plus 5 mana income. Once upon a time, that was 10. RIP. It wasn't called that either. Magical Artisans or something? I barely used it then. At tier 6 of Order, the Bonds of Brotherhood, which I think we've seen before, grant 5 Imperium income per defensive pact you have with other rulers, or 15 per alliance you have with other rulers instead. Or the Benevolent Conquerors is here, converting cities into vassals takes 2 less turns and does not give a relations penalty. I feel like Bonds of Brotherhood's kind of whatever, unless you're specifically going for an alliance victory. Or a team victory. Maybe in a team game this is fantastic. Also, the Rite of Astral Abundance is a repeatable rite that grants 750 mana. Isn't this like 2,000 on the live build? I noticed this was so much less mana, but I think it's been moved down. It's tier 4 now. Was it always there? I thought it was at tier 6 or something. Anyway, mana. Here's the Ice Age. You just right-click and it'll cast a spell, and it will put these markers all over the map. Completely uncontrollable, but they don't believe it will target your own provinces, because it does destroy it. It literally removes the province from existence. So when it hit this, it removed this one, and then it got rid of this. It was crazy. They also noticed it did not give grievance to any of the rulers that it targeted, which is really funny. At tier 6 of Nature, you can choose Expansive Reach, where cities may expand to provinces located 2 provinces further from the center. A classic, and as you can see here, this province was lost, and then this province was lost, which lost this province. Poor Zala, or Paula, whatever her name is. I used her, I should know. Here's the concept art for the Spider's Nest, and of course we have a good old Carissa. She's not currently flaming because this is an image. Here's some of our early concept design. Initially, Alex kind of wanted her molten body to be a skin suit. And 11 out of 10 would have supported that idea. This one she has oh, what are these called? Oh, I don't remember. It's a very Eastern thing, though. like Eastern mythology thing, so I wonder why, if that's why they didn't go with it. This one has a skull on her hip. Here's some more early concept designs for good old Carissa, the girlfriend who you should not get back with, because she will make you a worse person. Some of the before and after, I think we saw this in the Dev Diary. As repetition, sorry. I was just taking screenshots like as they showed up in case someone moved. There's the sculpt. The game crashed. Alex is having a good giggle about it. But if you're curious about what's in their Steam library, here you go. Nothing too shocking, I don't think. There's a voxel, and you may notice beneath the 3 different versions of the voxel, the Ashen. Look at that! It's my boy. Blint the Underworld Bully. Underworld, even. Doesn't he look so... snappy? Snappy? I'm spreading. Blint will take over the world! And they just want to show off kind of like the intro art for Abadoth. If you want to read this, you can. But this is the introduction to the second story realm, the Azerin Pit. I could TLDR it, but I'm not going to do any spoils. There's a downtrodden Ysariel, and there she is. Carissa's hand on fire. Lava. Then we got to Mr. Hambinger and his bird. She made some flapping abouts. Look at him. Here's his sculpt. They talked about how kind of like his chest torso thingy was designed kind of like the entwined units. There aren't very many of them, but it was inspired by that. Hopefully we can get that as a customization option as well someday. And here is the Infernal Helion all tied up. And some of his concept art that I talked about earlier. Here's his original design. Originally it's going to be in a pillory. That would make far less sense. But, hey. Probably still would have made it cool. They thought about blindfolding him. Chained to ancient artifact. And there's the big mad boy himself. They thought about having some kind of like infernal scroll over his head. But elected not to. There's a giant ball instead. The scrying orb, if you will. Watching over the situation. Here's the giant lava pit. Which is directly above the Helion. There's the finalized version. And that is the end. So, without further ado, I can't believe how long I've been yapping. I'm already 15 minutes in. Without further ado, we're just going to go over the handy dandy notebook. It is not particularly long, but there were just a few things. No, it's a little bit long. Just a couple of things here and there that people asked, Thomas pointed out and talked about. I'll throw up some of the art images enlarged so you can take a better look at them if you would like. I'm going to have to set back the music as well. All themes for cultures are on the table, but there are some things that probably wouldn't be created like modern day New York City culture. And they talked about like God Air gangsters and that'd be a really fun idea. It's basically anything you can think of is on the table if they can convince people to do it or put it in like the right context. The surface of Duatha is custom, and there's a lot of custom environment stuff from the other realms. We did talk about that. The Empire Tree will continue receiving updates as needed, but its current iteration is what will be released on June 16th. Someone was complaining about too many resource stacking mechanics, and Thomas kind of explained how we need to get it in people's hands so they can explore it and test it and see how they feel about it. Someone asked for heals on the Temptress, but of course she is designed to look like a succubus with goat legs and the heart of revelry plus Stephen Ken. So, I kind of thought she already had heals. But anyway. The devs have considered April Fool's jokes, but because they're not a live service game, it actually costs money on the consoles to push an update. And of course, it takes time to update the game for something that they would, plan to remove. If they were going to do something kind of jokey, they'd probably add it as like an optional thing that could be removed, turned on and off on like realm setting. And of course, it would be removed from the RNG or baseline gain options. A funny idea that Thomas had was to have a hidden trait where healing is inverted. So it would damage you when you healed, and of course then it would reveal, hey, this realm has inverted healing or something. I think that'd be very interesting and incredibly annoying. Some wonders have disproportionate battle difficulties that Thomas would like to address one day. because some silver wonders are harder than gold wonders. My personal experience is that the World Tree battle is typically easier than the other gold wonders. Water plans, maybe, but there's nothing they can talk about at the moment, besides the fact that they know it's something that's a little lackluster. Just as a reference, they have confirmed vague water updates for the future. So, maybe someday. They're Dutch, but they still won't let us reclaim the seas. And then Thomas's response was a failure of tech, which I thought was very interesting. It would be cool if there's a way to turn land into water and vice versa, but again, it would be very difficult to do tech-wise. And then I wrote, Kyogre will rise. The cat ear transformation for bonus evasion, there was zero context to that. I think someone wrote it in chat, but maybe. The avatar of the cosmos is made of asteroid or space rock. Yes, they originally wanted to make it out of marble, but went with asteroid for a larger-than-life experience. I think I said that already, their appearance. Alex is to blame for the extremely unsettling teeth in the Tome of Gluttony. He made the tome, or the art for the tome anyway. The Owlkin form went through the most iterations of all forms. The tomes in this DLC were themed after the returning Wizard Kings. I think I know which ones are which, but I can't remember right now. Sinrin has his own Shrouded Isle where he does his hot tub streams. Fun fact. He also has his own secret spell. So one of those secret spells images we saw were Sinrin's. Tome of Blint and Blint rotation meme. I told you, Blint is spreading. I am doing the work of somebody. Owl Sonas and Bird Watchers are avian sexual. No context. The devs would like more elemental titans. This is the Earth Titan. And they thought that they created the Earth Titan because they wanted like an Apex Materium unit. And that was kind of it. Hydras would be really cool. Indeed it would. And Alex was kind of thinking that, you know, he'd want all the different heads to kind of move about and conflict with each other. Which normally I would say would be very difficult to do, but they managed it with the Avatar of the Cosmos, so maybe. Armadillo and or pangolin forms would be really cool to see, but Thomas was not sure if he could sell the idea. The ancient obelisks interact with the nomads as you would expect, which of course they'll eat it and turn into, what do they call it? An essence. Thomas thought that it would be a mana essence, but I'm pretty sure it'd be a research essence. It'd be one of the two, not sure which. When it comes to scavengers, the city will eat whatever tier the Arcanum was when it finishes. So be sure to spend the 500 mana to upgrade it to a silver Ancient Wonder before the 10-turn cooldown finishes. I think this is the same matter as the obelisk thing. Would it be a mana essence or a research essence? It might be mana. I'm not sure. Mage armor is very strong for magic fighters, but they also do not have many, if any, other defensive transformations. Enchantments. They are enchantments. Arcticus Ice Age is not a terraforming spell, because it is not targeted. So it will not be affected by the Empire skill trees that they're talking about. And you cannot play as Carissa on the Azuran Pit, because she's already there. This is true. Alright, that was it for the Hand Editing Notebook. That was it for the art, for the wonder, for the Dev Diary, Dev Stream Breakdown for Age of Wonders 4. I suppose I could cover the next one, which will be post-release. Like I said, I usually don't cover the streams. If you want to see the stream, I suppose you can let me know. But I might just cover the Empire skill tree, because I'm very interested to see how they kind of approached it. I'll already kind of have an idea. The goal with it was really to just kind of expand the identity of the affinity. And a good example, then you'll hear me say later, is that Order was very focused on free cities and vassals, but, you know, it also has to do with gold, it also has to do with happiness and morale. So now, you can choose, if you want. Or don't. Do what you want. But thanks for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed. Sorry I yapped so much on the art part, but I really do love the pretty pictures as a content creator and just as a curious gamer. Thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Thank you to patrons and the channel members support channel. I greatly appreciate you. If you would like to stay up to date with anything happening on the channel, feel free to join the description down below. And I will see you on June 16th for the release of Secrets of the Archmages.